The story begins inside the laboratories of the Edge Company, where we see two scientists, Tucker and Markle. These two were conducting experiments to invent a serum using tomatoes. The advantage of this serum is that whoever uses it, no one will ever be able to harm them. When the experiment was finished and the serum was ready, they decided to test it. They threw the tomato at the wall with all their might, but unfortunately, the tomato crumbled and was completely destroyed. The scientists felt intense frustration, but at that moment, they looked at each other and promised themselves they would not give up until the serum succeeded. The next morning, the scene moves us to a pizza shop. A young man named Matt was taking the prepared pizza out of the machine, but it suddenly fell from him to the floor and was ruined. His mother, Mrs. Name, saw the sight and got very angry, telling him that he had ruined 2 pizzas in 1 week, and now there was no time to make another. She would deduct the cost of this loss from his salary. Matt begged her, saying he really needed the money, and asking her not to do that. His mother agreed, but on one condition: if he wanted her to forgive him, he had to go outside the shop and wear the pizza man suit to attract customers, just like his father used to do. Matt was very embarrassed but was forced to agree, put on the suit, and stood in the street. At that time, Todd arrived, a famous boy in college, driving his expensive car. He stopped in front of the shop and started mocking Matt, insulting him and belittling him. The problem was that Todd was with his girlfriend Susan, the girl Matt secretly loved but never had the courage to confess to. After this insult, Matt entered the shop and decided he would not stand outside again, but his mother told him his father wore that suit with pride to provide for his family and asked what he was ashamed of. His mother's words affected him, and he decided to keep wearing the suit all day and not care about anyone. Returning to the lab, the scientists found a surprise that blew their minds. The crushed tomato had returned to its original state in a miraculous way. Scientist Tucker could not believe himself. He grabbed the tomato and threw it again, and before his eyes the tomato reconstructed itself and returned to its natural shape on its own. After working day and night, they finally managed to create an eternal tomato serum that does not die, and they decided they would test it on humans. Matt finished his work at the pizza shop and ran to his lecture at college, but from the exhaustion of working all day, he kept falling asleep and waking up during the chemistry lecture of Scientist Tucker. When the class ended, the professor woke him up and told him that if he wanted to succeed in life and achieve something, he must focus. He knew Matt was smart and had a brain, so he should use it. But Matt felt despair and replied that he would spend his whole life making pizza with his mother and would achieve nothing. The scientist asked Matt to bring him a pizza to the lab at night because he wanted to show him his new discovery. Matt agreed, and after college he returned to the shop and started driving around the city delivering orders. On the other side, at Edge Laboratory, the company manager Mr. Chisel was talking to the scientists and asking for the results of the experiment. Professor Tucker showed him the tomato and told him to crush it. When the manager crushed it, it returned to its original state in seconds. The scientists explained that they succeeded in inventing a serum capable of returning anything to its original form even if it was destroyed, and that this could treat many diseases. But Manager Chisel proved to be greedy. He looked at the money and said they would sell this serum to the army, imagining soldiers that no one could kill. The scientists refused to let their invention turn into a weapon of war, and Tucker decided he would never let his manager's plan succeed. At that time, Matt was delivering the last pizza order to Scientist Tucker at the lab. Poor Matt did not know that Mr. Chisel had sent his guard, John, with a sniper to steal the serum from the scientist by force. As soon as Matt delivered the pizza to the scientist, the gang attacked them and surrounded them, shouting to give them the serum and that tomato that doesn't spoil immediately. Tucker refused with dignity, but the other scientist, Markle, turned out to be a traitor and handed everything over to the gang, admitting he was working with Manager Chisel. Markle and the men were leaving, but Markle dropped the tomato on the floor and waited for it to return to its original state, but it didn't. Markle understood that Tucker had swapped the tomato without anyone noticing. At that moment, Professor Tucker took out the real tomato and a syringe from his pocket, hid them, and tried to escape with Matt from the building, but they were met by some thugs who opened fire on them. The professor was hit by a bullet, and another bullet grazed Matt's shoulder. Despite all this, they managed to reach the roof. There, Tucker gave Matt an injection that healed his wounds in a second and told him to eat this tomato quickly, as it would give him great power, but he made him promise to use his power only for good. Finally, the gang cornered the scientist and told him to give them the tomato if he wanted to live, but Tucker took out a bottle of chemicals and threw it on the floor, causing a massive explosion that blew the enemies away, but unfortunately, the scientist died from his wounds in front of Matt's eyes. Out of extreme anger and sadness, Matt decided to eat the tomato as the scientist told him. John tried to stop him, but Matt fell from the high roof of the building. To everyone's surprise, Matt stood up as if nothing had happened, got into his car, and left. While driving, he started feeling tired and dizzy, losing consciousness, so he stopped the car on the sidewalk. Luckily, he parked by chance in front of Susan's house. Susan saw his condition and took him inside the house to rest. When she went to get him water, Todd entered and asked with jealousy and anger what brought this boy here, as they hadn't invited him to the party. Matt tried to explain, but Todd kicked him out forcefully and punched him, but Todd's hand hurt, and he screamed in pain because Matt's body was as hard as stone. Todd's friends gathered to hit Matt, but Matt beat them all easily, throwing one of them flying over a ping-pong table. Matt went out and returned home, but the effect of the tomato was still working, and he fainted on the sofa. The next morning, while having breakfast with his mother, Matt wondered if this tomato really gave him power, or if he was imagining it. He decided to test it. He put his hand in the fire and felt no pain. Then he went down to the street and tried to push a car with his hand, lifting it with complete ease. Thus, he confirmed that the scientist's words were true, and that he had become superhuman. Matt went to the pizza shop and there saw the news of scientist Tucker's death on television. Troubles increased when John and his men arrived at the shop and asked his mother about her son's location. His mother saw they weren't police and looked like thugs, telling them to leave and that no one enters without a search warrant. John tried to force his men in, but the brave mother hit one of them with a baseball bat. Then John and the men raised their weapons at her and told her to say where her son was or they would kill her. Matt saw all this from the kitchen, and to save his mother without revealing his face, he wore his father's old suit. John and the men were smashing the shop and pushing his mother when suddenly one of the men was thrown into the air. When they looked back, they found Matt wearing the suit. Matt told them confidently that he was a superhero, and his name was Baroman. The gang laughed at him and mocked him, saying he was just a pizza man, and with his weak body he should surrender without a fight. But Matt used his new power and attacked them. When one of them fired a gun at him, the bullet did not affect the suit at all. After beating the whole gang, he grabbed John, who was trying to convince him to come to the lab, but Matt was still angry about the scientist's death, so he pushed John back. John's foot slipped, and his face went into the hot pizza oven, and half of his face was completely burned. John shouted to his men and ran quickly to the doctor to treat his face. After the fight, Matt took his mother to the hospital, and when she woke up, he told her everything. His mother decided to close the shop until things calmed down and told him she dreamed of his father wearing the delivery suit and using his power to save them. Matt decided he would continue fighting in the pizza man suit and promised he would use his power to help people and not for anything wrong. At another hospital, John's face was covered in bandages. The doctor examined his condition and told him they must take skin from another part of his body to graft onto his face to hide the burns. John stood in front of the mirror and looked at his face, which the pizza boy had completely deformed. Rage filled him entirely, and he swore a great oath that he must take revenge on this superhero no matter the cost. Matt was unaware of what was happening and went to close the pizza shop because his mother was still hospitalized. Suddenly, Detective Moser appeared and told him to come to the station. When they arrived, Matt started showing the detective camera recordings of the gang's attack on his mother, but Moser was clever and showed him another clip of the man wearing a mask beating up the gang. Moser suspected Matt was the pizza man himself, but Matt denied it completely, asking how he could fight an army alone and to look at his body. Is this the body of someone who could carry his mother and run to the hospital? Detective Moser looked at him and was initially convinced, saying it didn't look like it, but he assured him he would keep investigating until he found out who this pizza man was and what his reality was. After leaving the station, Matt went to attend Scientist Tucker's funeral, and there he met Susan again and started apologizing for what happened at the party when he hit Todd and his friends. But Susan surprised him and asked why he was apologizing, saying they were the ones who started the attack and he defended himself, and that Todd's behavior was garbage and she had left him and blocked him. Matt heard these words, felt butterflies in his stomach, and love began to play in his heart as they talked for a bit. On the other side, Mr. Chisel was sitting with Scientist Markle discussing how to get the serum back. In the middle of the conversation, John entered with his burned face and declared clearly, "I will steal this pizza man's power for myself." And not just that, he said that from today, he was the new manager of the company, tired of Chisel's orders. The boss told him he had lost his mind, but John didn't hesitate. He pulled out his pistol and fired a shot that finished him off. After eliminating his manager, he sat on the chair coldly, declared himself the new leader, and called himself Big Cheese, the Big Head. His first order to Scientist Markle was to find a way to extract the serum from the pizza man's body to remanufacture it and use it for himself. The scientist told him that when he returned to his research, he discovered the pizza man's weakness, a bacteria found in tobacco leaves. Its smoke affects the tomato composition and makes the pizza man's power completely useless. Big Cheese was overjoyed when he heard this and ordered his men to turn this smoke into a weapon to hunt the pizza man. After preparing everything, Big Cheese and his men went to the college where Matt was. At that time, Matt was in a chemistry lecture with a doctor and suddenly felt very tired and ran to the bathroom. Immediately after, Big Cheese and his men stormed the college and started threatening the doctor and students with weapons, asking where Matt was. Susan intelligently sent a quick message to Matt, warning him about a gang looking for him. Matt took the opportunity, ran to the nearest bathroom, and put on the pizza man suit. Matt prepared himself completely to save Susan and his classmates from the gang. Big Cheese didn't find Matt in the class but found a notebook with love letters written to Susan. When he realized the girl Matt loved was in the room, he decided to take her hostage to lure Matt into the trap. The gang took the girl and were leaving, but suddenly the pizza man appeared and blocked their way, standing in front of Big Cheese and telling him to let Susan go immediately. Then Big Cheese ordered his men to spray cigarette smoke, and just as scientist Markle predicted, the plan succeeded. Matt lost his power, the pizza man couldn't handle the smoke and fell to the ground. Big Cheese ordered them to extract the serum from his body and told the men to finish him off and kill him. But before they could do anything, the lecture ended and students came out of the classes, making the place crowded. Big Cheese took Susan and fled quickly, leaving his men to complete the dirty task. But as soon as the smoke disappeared, the pizza man's power returned to him, and in a second, he took care of them and finished them all with one blow. He ran quickly to save Susan, but unfortunately, Big Cheese had already taken her to his headquarters. There, he tied Susan up in the company lab and went to attend a meeting with investors. In the meeting, they asked him about the serum, and with the help of scientist Markle, the manager showed them Matt's blood containing the serum. To prove it to them, Big Cheese tried a small sample on himself, and suddenly the burns on his face disappeared completely. But the joy didn't last. The marks returned after a bit, meaning they needed a lot of work to fix the serum and remanufacture it completely. Despite this, the sample was enough to impress the investors, and they promised to fund the project if the experiment was completed. While the meeting was ongoing, Matt reached the company headquarters to save his sweetheart, but to pass through the company security, he had to act smartly. He pretended to be a delivery guy coming to deliver pizza to the manager, and the trick worked on the guard who let him in. Matt put on the pizza man suit inside the elevator, and as soon as he reached Big Cheese's office, he attacked him with all his strength and shouted angrily, "Where is Susan?" Big Cheese wasn't shaken and told him coldly, "I have an offer for you. If you agree, the girl lives. Give me some samples of your blood, and I'll let Susan go." Matt was dying of anxiety for Susan, so he agreed to the deal, but the treacherous Big Cheese took the opportunity, lit his cigarette, and blew the smoke in the pizza man's face. The smoke made him lose his power again, and they dragged him against his will and locked him in a secret lab. When Matt woke up, he found himself tied to a gurney. Big Cheese thanked him sarcastically and said that with this blood, they would make plenty of serum, but he had a habit of not leaving witnesses alive and ordered scientist Markle to kill Matt after finishing the blood draw. Matt begged him with heartbreak to let Susan go, but Big Cheese said he doesn't leave evidence. At the moment, the scientist took the blood samples and was preparing the poison to kill Matt, and the end was nearing. 3 police officers suddenly stormed the lab, raised their weapons, and told everyone to surrender. It turned out Matt had called Detective Moser to ask for help before even entering the building, and the police arrived at the right time and saved him before it was too late. But Big Cheese didn't surrender and immediately opened fire. The police did not back down and advanced to save the kids, while Big Cheese and Markle hid inside the building and exchanged fire. Detective Moser untied Matt and took him and Susan quickly to his car in a safe place. Moser ordered his team to chase the gang, and 2 officers caught scientist Markle inside the lab. The mad scientist used the pizza man's blood sample and injected himself with the serum, thinking he would be immortal, but the officers tasered him, and he fell like a sack, proving his formula still wasn't working. But Big Cheese was still free, firing at the police from his office. Outside in the car, Matt and Susan heard everything on the radio, and Matt said he must help the police. He punched himself hard twice to see if his power had returned, but discovered the smoke's effect was still in his body. Even without power, he was determined to help, put on the pizza man suit, and ran to the building. He reached the floor with the office quickly. Big Cheese caught him off guard and shot him in the arm. The police tried to help the pizza man, but Big Cheese took advantage of the confusion and fled to the roof. Despite being injured, the pizza man didn't stop and chased Big Cheese, who was jumping from one building to another to escape. Matt tried to jump after him but failed and hung onto the edge of the building. Big Cheese saw him helpless and decided to finish him off, pressing on his arm wound to make him fall. Fortunately, Susan and Detective Moser arrived in the nick of time, and Moser shot at Big Cheese. The criminal fled, limping toward his car, and the pizza man stood up again and started chasing him in the garage. Big Cheese got into the car, and the pizza man jumped onto the roof. Cheese, sitting inside, increased the speed and started firing at the roof, but the hero managed to dodge the bullets. Suddenly, Big Cheese braked hard, and Matt flew and fell in front of the car. Big Cheese stepped on the gas and was about to run him over as he lay on the ground, but for the second time, Detective Moser appeared with his car at the right moment, blocked the path, and saved the pizza man. After all these attempts, Big Cheese got out of his car, raised his weapon at Moser, pulled Susan from the car, and dragged her with him to a pizza factory. The pizza man caught up with them there, and as soon as he entered the factory, he saw Susan tied with a leather belt, moving toward a very sharp cutting machine. Matt tried to stop the machine to no avail, but suddenly he felt his power return. He used his power and destroyed the control panel, and before Susan fell into the machine to be cut, he ran like a rocket, pulled her, and saved her life at the last moment. Now, nothing remained but to eliminate Big Cheese. The pizza man found him hiding in the factory warehouse with no escape. Big Cheese tried to negotiate and convince him, "Join us, son. We'll make serum and money galore, the two of us together." But the pizza man refused with dignity and said, "I will never forget Scientist Tucker's words. My power is for good only." Big Cheese tried to betray him and attack, but the hero returned the blow and pushed him away. The villain fell onto the belt of another machine, but this time it was headed toward a freezing machine. Quickly, Matt tried to run to save him, but it was too late, and before his eyes, Big Cheese turned into a large block of ice and froze. Finally, the battle ended. Detective Moser thanked the pizza man for saving Susan and ending the criminal's reign, and at that moment, the pizza man revealed his true identity to Moser, who stood shocked. Moser advised him, "Leave crime fighting to us." In the end, Matt took Susan to her house and finally confessed his love to her, and she didn't hesitate either, and gave him artificial respiration, a kiss. The hero found his sweetheart, and the ending was happy.